welcome to our very first podcast brought to you by VetSOS. Today we have Mathew Chan as our first guest. Welcome, Mathew! So Mathew, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself before we start?
Hello, my name is Mathew. It's nice to be on this very first episode of the podcast. I am a vet that's just graduated end of 2019 from Murdoch University, and yeah, I've been still looking for work. I've been graduated for, at the time of this podcast, I've graduated for 6 months now, but because of the whole COVID thing, has shaken up my plans a little bit for work, but hopefully we'll be getting into it soon.
Okay. So would you like to tell us where did it all begin? Like what do you want to talk about your passion, and why did you want to become a vet?
Well, I've always wanted to be a vet ever since I was a kid. I don't remember wanting to be anything else really. So it was a pretty straightforward choice for me. And yeah, I think ever since I was, it must have been when I was 6 years old, that I wanted to be a vet. And then as I kind of grew up and went through school more, that I realised that it was going to be a realistic kind of career path for me, because I had the grades to do it. I was really, really interested in the science side of things, and of course I loved animals, so it was a little bit of a no-brainer for me. Yeah.
And what did you do to prepare for vet school? How was it like for you to go into vet school? Like, what was the process?
So I went to school here in Perth in Australia, in Western Australia. So we just had to go to primary school and then high school, and from high school you just go straight to university. And you have to do the what we call the ATAR exam, which gives you a score as a percentile to get into university. I think the percentile back when I was getting into uni was 97.3, and I was very, very lucky that I managed to attain at least that score. My preparation to get into to vet school. Well, I think most of the prep started when I was year 11 and 12, so the last 2 years of my high school. That's when I really kicked into high gear and started to study really hard. I think, it was at least studying after school every day. I would study at least 4, maybe 5 hours after school before I went to bed, going through either stuff that I had talked about in class, or learning stuff that we hadn't learned yet, because getting to the vet was no easy feat, so I had to really put in the work for that. And did that for 2 years and managed to get the entry into vet school.
What did you find? What do you find meaningful in being a vet? For you to pursue it, like.
Vet is definitely my way of contributing to society. That's kind of what we all end up doing, right? You go through school, you get a job, and that job is, supposed to give back to society in one way, and vet would be my way of doing it. And I think this is the best way that I can do it, to get the most out of myself and give as much back to community. So I'm glad that's just something that I love doing, that I actually like doing, and not just doing for the money, which as a vet you won't be doing for the money anyway.
But so after you entered university, how was it like? Did you cope very well? Like, did you have to stay up all night studying, or what was your lifestyle like in university?
That's a huge question. Well, vet school is 5 years, 5 years long for us in Murdoch anyway. I think over in the eastern states it goes to 6 years, 7 years. So for us 5 years, a little bit shorter. Still changed quite a lot my lifestyle from first year to fifth year. First year I was one of the very lucky ones to get in through direct entry through high school. The people who didn't get through that would have had to go through animal science, the course, and then compete against 300-400 people to get into to fight for the remaining 70 spots of vet school. So by the fact that I was already granted direct entry in first year and I have to fight for the spots in second year, I took it really chill. I really I remember one of my fellow classmates, it was week 4 of the first semester, and there's only 12-14 weeks in the semester, and she already started studying, and I was like, what are you doing? She was like, I'm studying. I'm like, why do you need to study? She was like, and she was still in the animal science course. She was like, what do you mean? And that's when I discovered the competitiveness of the animal science course. I didn't study until week 10, week 11, because all I needed to do was just to pass and maintain a passing GPA to continue in the vet course. So first year was definitely very, very easygoing for me. Yeah, very chill. I didn't have to, and a lot of the stuff in first year I had already learned in high school, so it was definitely on the easier side of things. And then second year hits you like a truck. If getting to uni or vet school wasn't hard enough, then second year definitely was definitely the test of your spirit and your soul. Second year I definitely had to
struggle a little bit more.
Yeah, struggle town, very big struggle town. I remember being like, you finish your classes, which you already have, 30-40 contact hours a week, and then every day after classes, I think a group of 15 of us would go straight to the library and study until 10 or 11 p.m. at night, and then go home, come back next morning for 8 a.m. lectures, and we just did that for 2 months straight, every single day, including the weekends, because we had exams like every 2 weeks or something. That was not a good time, but it was not a good time, because you're working really hard and you're just dying. But that was the time where I really got to know all the other people, because you're literally spending all your waking hours with the same people. And yeah, so second year was really hard, because that was the first time when you realize, oh my gosh, you actually need to know everything in the lecture. Like every lecture slide is an important slide, and so the years go on, third and fourth year, where you get used to it. You start learning that quality of the study is very important rather than the quantity, like the number of hours you put in. And so third and fourth year was a little bit easier to manage. Still hard, for sure. But and then fifth year, no lectures. Oh, that's good. And all your stuff is just clinical rotations, and actually getting to do stuff, hands-on stuff, talking to, vets who have been out in the field for ages. They're teaching you. Fifth year was definitely the most fun I've had in university throughout the whole course. Still tough, still doing at least minimum 50 hours a week at the hospital. The toughest week I had was a 70 plus hour week, including one day which was a 24-hour shift. We didn't sleep at all.
How did you manage? Did you just force yourself to stay
manage
awake?
It's probably not the right word to use in this case. It's something that you just kind of do it. You get thrust into a situation, and you kind of just push through it. I don't think I was prepared for it at all, and after the 24 hours, I still couldn't. I was on such a you were really sleepy at the end of it, but I still couldn't sleep because I was still just so oh my gosh, everything's happening, hourly checks on the patients, and half the patients are trying to die on you. But I think having friends with you is really important, because I don't think I would have made that week without having a good bunch of people to go through with it. So yeah, I think to summarize, probably second and fourth year were really hard because just the sheer amount of content.
Adapting phase. No.
Yeah. Because first year is so much easier compared to second year.
Yeah, it's a big jump.
Yeah, I should say second year is much harder than the first year. And the fourth year, just the lectures, so many lectures. And you just fall asleep half the time. Yeah. But fifth year, definitely the most fun I've had.
So during this 5 years of experience, is there anything that you were surprised? Maybe it was I didn't expect to get this in the vet field. And maybe even something that you almost changed your mind of to be a vet.
I think for starters, every year was just a surprise, I guess, because you never really know what's gonna hit you, and it's always just as I said, second year was really hard. You thought, you can't get harder than this, and then it does get harder than that. I think I went into vet school and stayed in vet school with the mindset that it was always going to be difficult, and there's always going to be stuff I didn't know. So the surprises, yes, they were there, but I wasn't surprised by the surprise, if you like to say. I was expecting the unexpected. So yeah, nothing too particular. I guess as you said, anything that changed my my view on being a vet, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, there were times that I was can I actually really do this? Because for me, I was studying so much every night. I would be studying, and I'd still be in the bottom third of the class or something. And I would think I'm actually cut out for this. But in reality, I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So I think there were probably a few falters of my mindset of being a vet here and there, but when it really came down to it, I wouldn't have chosen anything else. So I think I was pretty solid on the track. Had a lot of friends who definitely
inspired
seriously.
You.
Sorry?
Inspired you throughout the course. Or motivate you.
Inspired. More intimidated. Intimidated was a good word, because there are some seriously talented and smart people in vet school that not only are they really, really talented, and they also work really hard, so it just compounds their ability. And when you compare yourself to that, it's just, it can get really demoralizing. But there was a certain classmate that did inspire me, because he actually ended up getting ducks this for my year. If you're listening, you know who you are. And yeah, he definitely was the epitome of not only that you can't just be gifted or talented, you have to work really hard. And he was really I don't think I met anyone harder working than him, or having the kind of drive that he did. So he really well and truly deserved the ducks of our year. So I kind of looked up to him, but it was also very difficult to keep comparing myself to that. Yeah, but I kind of, sometimes when it got hard, it's kind of look, I'll just do my own thing. just as long as I try not to fail anything. And I think that was, I wasn't a very good student, so, but I still managed to pass. So
but you studied after class. in the library. That says a lot.
I mean, a lot of students do. I don't think you can make it through vet school if you don't study. It's just too much. So yeah, it was, yeah, definitely difficult.
So how did you cope though? Like all these stress, anything that you do outside of studying, did you do anything else?
So I am a very avid sports person. I also play a lot of badminton. It could be said that maybe I wasn't a very good student because I played a lot of badminton. I trained through the entirety of vet school. I never ever stopped playing badminton. I would still be training at least 4 times a week. And then when it was coming up to a tournament, I'd be gearing up to 6 or 7 times a week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. In hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have played so much. Would have been very good for my grades. But yeah, if I didn't have exercise and sport, I think I would have been totally and utterly consumed by vet, and I don't think that's that would have been a very
path, yeah.
It wouldn't have been very healthy mentally or physically. So yeah, that I made sure that I exercised regularly. At least if I didn't go to badminton, at least I went to the gym, or I went and did a little bit of running at least. That, and second year, as I said, I mentioned second year was really hard, but I think that was really compounded by the fact that I didn't know that I needed to kind of relieve stress. I was just like, yes, let's study everything and all the time. And I didn't actually let myself relieve some of that stress. And so I think third and fourth year was easier as well, because I learned to actually take a day off. Saturdays ended up being my day off, where I either just go to the gym and do nothing else, be a meathead at the gym for a bit, and not study at all. And then Sunday I'd have to study because Monday would be classes or rotations, and you have to prepare for that. But yeah, second year was definitely not very well managed on my behalf, on my side of things. So yeah, for me, my outlet was definitely physical exercise. Other people have different things. We all cope with stress in a different way, or relieve stress in a different way. So
yeah, so 5 years is a really long time. And what keeps you moving? Like, maybe was it just the fact that you don't think you're gonna do anything else that keeps you moving, or you have other source of motivation?
What keeps me going, kept me through going for the 5 years? Blind faith. Definitely, part of it for me was I couldn't think, there was nothing else for me. I think I had dedicated my entire earlier years towards becoming a vet. But vet school can definitely jade some people, especially 5 years is a long time, 5-6 years, or for those who have been in uni, did other degrees before vet school. By the end of it, they would have been in uni for 8 years. I know some people who have almost done a decade of studying at tertiary education. But I think this also applies with other industries, is remembering what you went in, what your thought process was when you wanted to get in, like what made you want to become a vet.
Yeah, you kind of forget sometimes when you're in the middle of it. yeah, definitely. You kind of forget, you get engrossed in all the study and all the little bits of anatomy and physiology, and forget that, by the end of it, you'll actually be, making dogs and cats' lives better and happier. And so, yeah, that's right. In second year, which is a very good time to have this happen, was
one of our professors, our anatomy professor, Dr. Martin Cake.
Oh.
Super lovely guy. He makes you, as part of our, we had a course called Veterinary Professional Life, or VPL for short. And that was just to make sure, it was like the course that we had for, mental health, gearing us towards the actual working part of vet. It's not all just about the study and the academia and the medical side of things. It's also, vet's always going to be a client-based industry, so you're going to be talking to people. So VPL was all about communication skills, managing your how you talk to your clients, how you talk to other people. And I think the most important part of VPL was actually how to manage yourself. And so as part of this managing yourself thing, Martin would make you write down on pieces of paper all the reasons why you became a vet. And you write them all down, and then he'll give you a little medicine, or like a little pill box.
To remind, so that you can always read it.
Yeah, so he would label it, he would dispense it for you. It would be like, reasons why I went to vet school, and the dosage would be readers required. And so that was really nice. I still have it sitting on my windowsill in my bedroom. And yeah, that was a really, really helpful thing that I knew definitely helped a lot of my classmates as well. Because, it's a very direct reminder of, why you got into vet in the first place. And that's very easy to lose when you're in the midst of everything. So yeah, I remember... what did I write down? I wrote down vet being my contribution to society. Being like, I loved animals, and that if I can do it, then I should. I think there was a few reasons that I put in, and so that really kept me on track.
So you mentioned about comparing yourself to your classmates. Have there been times that you have doubted your capabilities of being
yes.
Because I do, when I'm on placement, I certainly doubt whether I'm suitable to pursue this career.
I think everyone gets that in vet school. Even now, as my I want to say classmates, but now they're my colleagues. As my colleagues, even as they're working now, this feeling that it's called imposter syndrome, where you feel like you don't actually belong there. You feel like an imposter. Like even now, I don't recognize myself as a vet sometimes, or as a doctor. And that's definitely really difficult to manage, because you have some amazing classmates, or you have some really amazing vets that you work with, mentors, and I mean, I never really solved it for myself. As I said, I'm still going through it now, but I think some of the more specialists in dealing with imposter syndrome, they say always remembering that by the end of what you're doing now in vet school, not a lot of people can do. Like, not everyone can get into vet school. Getting into vet school is a seriously difficult thing to do, and that in itself has a lot of merit. So, and if you're still pursuing it, by the fact that you're, pushing yourself to pursue it is not an easy feat to do as well. So you got to give yourself credit where it's due, and trying to do that as much as possible without without becoming arrogant, I guess. Yeah.
So I know Murdoch provides various practical work for you guys, including farm work and clinical experience. And by the end of finishing the 5th year, coming out, do you feel like you're ready? How ready do you feel?
I don't think you'll ever be ready enough, honestly. I think Murdoch does a pretty good job of giving you heaps of practical experience, especially in the last year of rotations. The whole time you're in rotation, you're in the hospitals, you don't do anything else, honestly. And also you're required to do 14 weeks of placement outside of the hospital, so at different clinics, different private clinics, which you have to cover both large animals and small animals. So I think in that regard, yes, the time, like the amount of time you spend doing practical stuff, definitely is there. If anything, I don't think we have enough holidays. But I don't think you'll ever be ready. I think it's pretty well known in the industry is that your first, or maybe in your first 2 years, that you're kind of needing to be trained. There's just too much that you have to learn on the job that you wouldn't have been able to learn in university. No matter how many hours of studying you do on the textbook or whatever, that doesn't
apply into real life.
Yeah. Like, for example, you can't study how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. You can read all about it, but until you actually go up into a consult room and actually start talking to a client, or start interacting with dogs and doing a physical exam at the same time as talking to the client, that kind of stuff you need to get out into the workforce and actually start doing it. So through no fault of any vet school, I think you'll never be fully prepared. You just gotta
wing it.
To a certain extent, I think. I don't want to tell our future veterinarians to wing everything, because that would be terrible medicine. But no, you definitely can prepare yourself as much as you can, but you'll never be 100% prepared. Yeah, so you just kind of have to go for it and learn on the way. Like, I've made heaps of mistakes throughout my rotations and stuff, and that's where you learn. You make a mistake and you're like, oh no, this is bad.
What kind of mistake?
Well, how much time do you have? So many. Ranges from, like, of course, one of the big ones is stabbing things, putting catheters in, trying to hit a vein. You always miss a vein. I've blown so many veins, where, I've blown at least both arms and a leg in a dog before, and the last leg they had to be like, no, sorry, like, I'm gonna get a vet to do this because we only have one vein left. And definitely a lot of close calls that I was very lucky that the vets standing behind me were like, okay, you got to stop here because you're about to make a big mistake, and I don't think I should delve into the details, client confidentiality and whatnot. But yeah.
But at least you've got this kind of mistake before you enter into real practice. Yeah,
I'm very lucky to have that's what rotations are for. You're there to get experience, but in reality, you're there to make the mistakes that you can make with a safety net behind you, and that safety net is the vet in charge, the nurses that are behind you, all the people, even if you're out in farms and stuff, the stable hands, like, they're all there to make sure that you're going to do it the right way, even though it might take you 5 tries to do it. So yeah, that's definitely just part of the journey.
Part of the journey.
Yeah, making mistakes.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for students who wish to pursue the veterinary career?
Ooh.
And also, like, students who are currently in veterinary medicine, who are studying.
Let's start off with people getting into vet. I think you should go in with the mindset that it's going to be a hard road. I don't think anyone in vet school thought it was easy or it was doable. Everyone thought they were about to die, 16 times in their vet school career. So if you're going to go for vet school, be prepared. Mentally be prepared that it's going to be a very difficult road. It's not something that you can do just because you feel like it. It's a big commitment. It's going to be very hard for you to. I mean, it's possible. I know definitely some friends who have managed to do this, but working while you're in vet school, especially in the last couple years, is very, very difficult. Some people had to, defer a year just so they can work, get the money so they can support themselves for another year of vet school. That's the kind of time commitment I'm talking about. In rotations, you're doing 50 hours minimum every week just in the hospital. Often it is definitely more than 50 hours, 60 hours going up to. And if you're trying to work on top of that, supporting yourself, it's got to be really tough. So I think study hard for people trying to get into vet. You definitely have to study hard because the entry requirements are
pretty high.
Yeah, academically pretty high. But also don't forget that practical experience counts a lot into your vet school entry. And what I mean by practical experience is any experience with animals. So owning a pet does not count. The admissions officer, I'm pretty sure, specifically mentioned that if you say you own a pet and you like pets, does not count as practical experience.
No.
But volunteering at any sort of animal-based place, wildlife rehab centers, vet clinics, even in Australia we have those greyhound races. You can go there and actually just get experience with handling animals, but the best is still actual experience at a vet clinic. So if you can volunteer at a vet clinic, even if you're not doing vet stuff because you're not in
you
in the
can't
vet course
really
yet, they probably won't let you, but just being exposed to that kind of workplace, and you'll see what the vets are doing on a daily basis. That will have a huge plus to your resume or your CV when you're applying for vet school, because you'll be showing to the admissions officer that I know what you're getting into. I know exactly what I'm getting soon. It's not all just puppies and kittens. It's going to be death, there's going to be sickness, there's going to be a lot of rowdy clients, there's going to be a lot of poop to clean up, a
lot of poop to clean up.
Yeah, it never stops.
Newspaper is your friend.
Yeah. And advice to current vet students, I think to tell you guys, there is light at the end of the tunnel. It does end eventually, and by the end of it you'll have a very nice pretty 2 letters in front of your name, doctor, and finally you'll be actually getting paid for what you
the mental plate.
Yeah. But I think personally I would tell everyone in vet school right now is vet school may seem like it's in your entire life, but it really shouldn't be. A person is defined more than what they study, for me, I'm a vet, but I'm also a badminton player. I'm also, I'm still the owner of, 2 dogs in my house. I'm still friends with all these other people. Just remember that vet is not your whole life, and you still need to put things, that aren't vet related as a priority as well. Family, friends, your dogs, please. So yeah, that will hopefully keep you going.
That's a hopefully students will enjoy that advice. What about networking in terms of like meeting people and building relationship with different clinics and eventually getting into the field? Like, how do you build that?
Yeah, this is a very difficult thing for a lot of students because it is really scary networking.
Yeah, it is.
As you probably know, talking to new people, especially people who are technically your seniors, you know, like vets who are already vets, like, oh my gosh, like, you've been through so much.
And the most of the time you're able to talk is in a very intense environment.
Yeah. The school does help you in so Murdoch, the student association at Murdoch, they hold some networking dinners where they invite a whole bunch of vets from different clinics and practice managers from different clinics, and you all sit down at a dinner table and you just walk around, introduce yourself to other people. So I didn't personally go to that because I found it very, very intimidating. Like, imagine sitting down with, you know, a whole table full of bosses of veterinary clinics. Like, that's pretty intimidating, right? Yeah. So I didn't actually personally go to those. I know that there are definitely quite a few people who got jobs from actually connecting with those the big players and the big bosses through those kinds of dinners. It's definitely has its place, but for me, it was a little bit too formal. How I networked was just simply through the practicals I did, all the volunteering time that you do at different clinics. Those, I think, are your best chances of networking. You'll have to do them anyway, so you'll be forced to go to clinics and actually talk to these guys and work with them, and they'll be able to see how you work. And I think something like 50% of jobs like that new graduates get from clinics that they've done practical experience at. And that's mainly because you'll always, you know, connections. You'll always hire someone that you know first over someone you don't, if you have equal, you know, experience. And that really is the case. And so I would recommend that when vet students, when you guys book your clinic, you know, your practical experience at clinics and stuff, choose the ones that you are thinking about working at. Choose the ones that you think might not only will give you experience, but you know, you might actually get a job there, or you would really, really like to get a job there. Because like for me, a lot of places that I have applied to as well, they have kept me in the running for certain positions, even though that position requires experience, which I don't have right now, but by the fact that they simply have worked with me for a few weeks, so they're like, no, we like this guy, we'll keep him in mind. And so yeah, you got to be really strategic about your placements. And actually, a lot of students struggle with this as well, is when you go to a placement, don't just
stand there.
Yeah, that's a really big one. Don't just stand there, but actually treat the people you're working with as your colleagues, as friends, because you'll make a much better impression like that.
Yeah, but it's really hard at the beginning for me personally.
Yeah, I'm lucky that I'm an extroverted kind of personality. But as long as you see them as people that you're working with them, not for them, and they're like people who get into vet, they're naturally very nice people. You know, you have to have a love for animals. You have to be passionate. So they'll, generally speaking, nice people. So don't be too scared about it. Go and talk to them, actually get to know them, and that will give you a huge plus.
Be curious.
Be curious, be bold.
And I think it really sees it, like whether you're passionate about something and whether you're willing to help when you're in that environment.
Yeah, for sure. It's the clinics definitely do talk about the students.
Yeah, they do.
I have been in those conversations talking about
Another students. Yes.
Yeah. I'm always complimenting the other students, of course. But yeah, I hope you guys listening to this don't feel pressured because I don't know they're gonna get judged by it. Like, just treat it like your own social group, and hopefully you'll be fine.
Thank you. Okay, this is the end of part 1.